what we play for right here. This is what we live for. We've been special. We smelt right here. America's watching. And let's show them who America's team really is. It's time to finish strong and hold up this trophy for this group, for our city. This is New Orleans.
New Orleans is a city steeped in a rich, colorful history.
That's what it's about right here. You can't beat this.
The professional football team that calls the Big Easy home can certainly say the same.
They're the best. They're the best. Absolutely the best. What do you guys think? They're the best? They're the best. All right.
The Saints may be one of the NFL's youngest franchises, but the team has a storied past, highlighted by some unforgettable memories.
Is there a city anywhere in America that deserves this more than the New Orleans Saints?
From the organization's humble beginnings,
the ball is down. Dempsey kicks. It's on the way. It is good. It's good. It's good. The Saints have won.
to breakthroughs on the Bayou.
Showtime in the dome.
Bless you boys, and cha-ching, the Saints are officially the NFC Western Division champions for the first time in 25 years.
New Saints, 2000, baby. Making a change, baby.
Brian Mills falls on the fumble, the muff by Hakeem. There is a God after all.
The Saints upsetting the Super Bowl champions here today.
The Saints have come to epitomize their city by overcoming adversity.
This game ball is going to everybody in this city. This city is getting this game ball from our organization.
And rising up to claim the game's ultimate prize.
It's Tracy Porter again. He's going to go all the way.
Get ready to party with the Lombardi, New Orleans. The Saints have won the Super Bowl.
You won a Super Bowl.
So did you.
These are the greatest moments in New Orleans Saints history. A Sunday unlike any other in New Orleans history ushered in the birth of pro football in the Crescent City.
2 marching bands, 3 jazz combos, 33 cheerleaders, 75 pom-pom girls, 20,000 balloons, and 82,000 fans welcome the New Orleans Saints into the National Football League.
The overflow crowd had barely settled into their seats before the brand new team etched the first great moment in franchise history.
And I remember the first game we played against the Rams, and John Gilliam took the opening kickoff and ran 96 yards for a touchdown. I thought this whole place was going to go right down the ground. I mean, they started stomping on those stands and everything. It's amazing it even stood up under that. That was a great beginning there.
Pete Rozelle, the commissioner, was in the press box. He got so excited he came out of his seat, and he had to be restrained, more or less. It was a great moment.
The Saints' second-round pick out of South Carolina State would go on to enjoy an 11-year career with 6 different teams. But this kick return will always remain John Gilliam's signature moment. It also provided the exclamation point to the fascinating saga behind the Saints' creation. That story began in the early 60s, when a historic meeting was arranged by French Quarter art dealer Dave Dixon.
We were able to go to the NFL and say, look, we'd like to put on some preseason games this summer. We'd like to put on maybe a doubleheader. And we drew tremendous crowds. I think we set the NFL attendance record. In fact, I know we did for a non-league city. Many times over, we had a crowd of right at 80,000, and this was unheard of back in the early 1960s. I think it was important because we were trying very hard to acquire either an NFL or AFL expansion franchise for the city.
Dixon bided his time until 1966, when Commissioner Rozelle negotiated a settlement between the warring AFL and NFL. where the two leagues would merge and create a new title game that became the Super Bowl. But the deal could not be finalized until Congress changed existing antitrust laws. Rozelle needed help, and got it from his friends in New Orleans.
The NFL was trying to get some antitrust legislation through in Washington, and some senator had it pigeonholed, and they couldn't get it out of committee. So Pete Rozelle called Dave Dixon and asked Dave Dixon if he knew anyone that could help with getting this legislation out. And so Dave Dixon said, well, yeah. He said, it still happens that the majority whip in the Senate and the leader in the House were both from Louisiana. So Dixon sent an embassy up there to talk to him and explain what was happening.
Rozelle recognized that he was going to have to do an end run, and one way to do that was through this Louisiana congressman named Hale Boggs. He had been reelected, but had suffered a tremendous loss of support from his constituents after he supported the Civil Rights Act. So Boggs was looking for a way to pump up his numbers, and the idea that he would support this bill and in turn the NFL would put a new franchise in New Orleans was something that Boggs, even though he wasn't a big sports fan, could certainly see the wisdom of.
Rozelle and Hale Boggs had several meetings, and he said to Pete that, okay, well, we're going to be interested in getting our new team in New Orleans as soon as possible. And Pete said, I'll do my very best. And Boggs said, your very best is not good enough.
And at that point, Rozelle has to backtrack and says, no, Hale, I think I can guarantee you that it's going to be there. And he got the exemption, and sure enough, the New Orleans Saints were born.
An NFL franchise is going to help the city an awful lot. Let's give our new Orleans Saints a nice round of applause. So one more time, New Orleans.
The city was awarded the franchise on November 1st, 1966, which was All Saints Day. And that also helped with the name of the team.
The Big Easy was now Big League, and local fans could barely contain their enthusiasm.
I think it's pretty good that the franchise was awarded to New Orleans. Being a ardent football fan myself.
We like football down here. We're going to meet those major league teams from up north. I think we're going to win quite a few ball games down here.
We feel that if we get a good team here, we'll be able to beat Miami, Houston, and probably anybody else.
The men in this town should have the patience as we women do, because it's going to take quite a while to get a winning team here.
It also took quite a while for the team to win its first game. Through the initial 7 weeks of their inaugural season, the Saints lost both nail-biters and blowouts. But eventually, the patience of New Orleans fans would be rewarded. When the big day finally arrived, it would be the smallest Saint playing the starring role.
From San Jose State, number 27, Walter Flea Roberts.
All right, Flea, all right, everything's all right. Real good. That's the way to...
Right from the opening kickoff, Walter the Flea Roberts was a mighty mite.
It finally happened. The New Orleans Saints won their first football game. Walter Roberts streaked up the middle and faked the last Eagle defender, number 24, Nate Ramsey, into oblivion, en route to a 91-yard touchdown.
The Flea then buzzed in to turn trouble into another score.
Catching a swing pass over the middle, Jim Taylor fumbled. But alert Mr. Roberts was on the spot to transform the error into 6 points of magic.
Roberts capped his greatest day as a pro with a game-clinching catch.
The Saints covered the last 50 yards on one play as Walter Roberts took Quazzo's pass for his third touchdown of the game. As the Saints gave the football-crazed fans of the Deep South their first taste of victory, and how sweet it was.
Wins were rare during the team's Tulane Stadium years. But fans could always count on an abundance of spectacular moments when it came to pregame and halftime attractions. It was a cavalcade of entertainment, unsurpassed by any franchise in football.
Saints have always placed great emphasis on halftimes, dating back to the beginning of the franchise at Tulane Stadium, where they did things like recreate the Battle of New Orleans on the field.
It was a big entertainment thing for the city. And then they would have the guy who had the and fly in the air and fly, and everybody would be like, ooh, like it's really this big deal that a guy comes in on jet propulsion and lands. People would be so happy about that.
They used to have, massive balloons that lifted when they were playing the Star Spangled Banner. They had pigeons, hundreds of pigeons fly up in the air. It was a spectacle.
They had ostrich races between members of the media, had ostriches with sulkies on them that raced down the field, and some really unusual things. It was big scale and very expensive.
But even Broadway stars on camels couldn't captivate the crowd as much as the team's mascot.
It's like, hey, look, there goes Gumbo. He'd lumber out on the field. The big dog, the big sloppy dog, the St. Bernard. Everybody loved Gumbo. Gumbo, that's so silly, though, when you think about it now. It's so silly. It was great for the time, though. It fit the time. Gumbo was cool, man.
What a snap. I know it.
I think to the right side, they ran 1-3 there.
Not every great moment in Saints history was achieved by a heralded superstar or gifted athlete. During the Saints' first season, their anointed, high-priced starting quarterback was eventually replaced by a bargain basement alternative.
Yeah, plus he didn't hit it real hard on the 36.
They gave up 2 number ones to Gary Quazzo, the quarterback they felt would start the first year in 1967 with the expansion team. Quazzo got beaten out by Billy Kilmer, who had come in the expansion draft.
They went combo, right?
Yeah. Kilmer was a hell for leather guy. He loved the French Quarter. He loved the social hour. He loved all the watering holes in the city. He fit into the personality of this city as well as anyone ever has.
He's got to come in.
Come on in.
Jeez, John, do you see a combination? Jump in there.
Kilmer, to me, I think he was the toughest son of a gun who ever played the quarterback position. He may have been the last quarterback who played with the single bar on his face mask. That's all he had. He'd be getting punched in the nose by linemen on the pass rush. He looked like a throwback to an earlier era. He was a great character and he was a great competitor.
Kilmer may have been viewed as second-hand goods, but his greatest moment as a Saint was top of the line. Against the Cardinals, Billy piled up the points during the biggest shootout in club history. That afternoon in St. Louis, Kilmer set a franchise record he shares to this day with Drew Brees.
For Billy Kilmer, it was his finest day as a pro. His 6 touchdown passes, combined with Charlie Johnson's 6, set a new NFL record for most touchdown passes in a game.
The first 3 years I was there, we won more games than any expansion team up to that time. That's more than the Cowboys won in the first 3 years, more than the Minnesota Vikings won in their first 3 years, and more than Atlanta won in their first 3 years as an expansion team. I thought we were really building something there, and it looked real good.
To Billy, such progress looked as good as the Hollywood profile of famed actor Charlton Heston, who came to New Orleans in 1968 to shoot a feature film about an aging Saints star. Heston took Billy's jersey number and some occasional advice about playing the quarterback position.
Billy Kilmer told me he had the hardest time teaching Charlton Heston how to throw a pass and put a little spin on it. And he said, man, I see this guy, he can't throw a pass and put a little smile on it.
398!
So a couple of Saint players, they would all the time say, well, Billy, look who the teacher is. You don't throw spirals either.
What impressed me as much as anything else in the whole undertaking was the warmth and determination that the players themselves gave to try and make me look something like a player. It was amazing. Very fine wide receiver, who at the time was supposed to be the best wide receiver in the NFL, was on the team, Danny Abramowitz. He said, now look, drop back to your spot, then throw, I'll be there. If you get a ball within 10 feet of me, I'll catch it.
Abramowitz, like Kilmer, also came from the bargain bin.
Danny was a 17th round draft choice out of Xavier, which gave up football right after he got drafted. So he goes to the Saints in their expansion year.
Damn, I should have had that son of a...
He was slow, but he was gutty and determined. He wanted to make it. And he got cut, but he wouldn't leave.
Abramowitz made the team and eventually retired as the Saints' all-time leading receiver. But Danny did much more than simply catch passes.
Come on now, let's go. Forget about it. Come on now, we got to get after him now. Come on now, let's go, offense.
That was just the way I played. I loved playing, and I was into it. I hoped I was a leader. I think I was a spark.
Hey, whenever you get in trouble, you know, you and you're scrambling, look, don't run the damn thing.
You can do all the talking in the world, but if you don't perform, then I don't think you can say much.
Abramowitz went on to set a league record for consecutive games in which he caught a pass. And in 1969, he enjoyed his greatest moment by topping the NFL in receptions.
I end up leading the league in receiving, but I would give all that back if we could have won as a team and been in the Super Bowl or something like that.
Just reaching the NFL might have been enough for a chunky Saints free agent with physical disabilities.
If you were to take the least likely person in the history of the NFL to set a world's record, Tom Dempsey would have been it. Tom was about 5'10", probably weighed, about 285, 290 pounds, was overweight, had a foot, if you can imagine, just go right down the front of your leg, straight to the floor, just had a heel, had no right hand. He was always somebody that nobody wanted on their team. You know, what sport can you play without a hand and without a foot?
My father, whenever I would tell him, I can't do something, he would reach up and thump me up the side of the head and say, boy, you may not do it like everybody else, but you can do it. And I always believed I could do anything I set my mind to do.
Dempsey would make league history in 1970. That season, the Saints fired Tom Fears after a 1-5-1 start and replaced him with the youngest and perhaps most obscure head coach in the NFL.
They brought in J.D. Roberts from the Richmond Roadrunners, a team on one of these semi-pro leagues. They brought him in to coach the team. He had no way to get acclimated. He was only here a few days.
J.D.'s first opponent would be the playoff-bound Detroit Lions, who took a 1-point lead with only 11 seconds left in the game.
And if you believe in miracles, my friends, it'll take something like that to help us now. Here is man to kick off. Al Dodd to the 20, to the 25, and out of bounds at the 28-yard line on the run back.
Billy Kilmer completed the pass to Al Dodd to stop the clock with 2 seconds and got out of bounds, at least put him in reasonable distance of trying to make a miracle field goal. Then the offensive coordinator signaled out on a headset to J.D. Roberts, we got a kick. Well, J.D. sent the punt team in, and the offensive coordinator, he's screaming, no, I mean Stumpy. That's what they call Tom Dempsey, Stumpy.
2 seconds remaining. Tom Dempsey will try to kick the longest field goal in National League history. Scarpetti will hold.
I knew it was long, but I didn't know it was like 63. And had we thought about it, probably would have tightened up and it would have been like a shank or something.
I was the only one that rushed at the end because I felt guilty that I was the captain and wasn't trying. And I flew at him laughing, and I fell on the ground.
Here's the snap, the ball is down, Dempsey kicks, it's on the way, it is good, it's good, the Saints have won, the Saints have won!
soon as the ball goes through, they carry J.D. Roberts off the field. He had just joined the team on a Wednesday, and he was head coach for a game on Sunday. He hardly had time to read the playbook, and they carried him off as a winning coach in his first professional game as a head coach.
But except for those at the game, few fans in the region heard the news until hours later.
When Dempsey's about to kick the field goal, all across Louisiana and beyond, the broadcast goes on. A swarm of bees gets into the transmitter, and it knocks out the broadcast at the precise moment that he's kicking the field goal. So all these people didn't hear the actual call. So even in their greatest successful moment, the Saints had a glitch.
Police wouldn't let me leave the locker room because there were so many people outside. And so he got on his radio and got us 2 cases of Dixie beer, which is a great local beer here, and we sat in the locker room and drank that together. It ended about 7 the next morning.
In 1971, a rambling, scrambling quarterback from Ole Miss named Archie Manning was selected by the Saints in the first round of the college draft. Picking a native son of the South proved to be a popular choice for football fans throughout the Gulf Coast.
I can remember Archie Manning walking into camp like it was yesterday with them bib overalls and the country boy from Drew, Mississippi. Unassuming type of a guy ready to go. A guy that they brought in to be like the savior of the team. Pretty heavy load to put on a young guy.
The circumstances were also stacked against the rookie quarterback as he entered his first NFL game.
I held out. I was late getting to camp. I got hurt during preseason games. I didn't play much. So I really had no business starting this game, probably first regular season game. And we're playing the Rams. The Rams are heavily favored. They're the kingpins of our division. They have a veteran team. They just put artificial turf down there in Old Tulane Stadium, and it was the hottest game I've ever played in. So that helped us because it really tired out the Rams. So we hung with them.
You could tell from the first time he lined up, he had football savvy. He just was a natural, God-given football player. He was one of the first guys that could drop back and run out of there, or sprint out, or do a lot of different things. Up until that time, we had mostly drop-back passers. He made us a more dangerous football team.
I guess the thing I'm proudest of that day is I had a good mental game to be such a young player. I made my reads and I didn't throw into coverage, and then was able to make some plays. But you know, for that first game to come down to a last-second play on the goal line, as I did, I think, a lot of times in my first year, but maybe not much that day, on the crucial play and the one that's going to determine the game, I reverted back to my college tendencies. So we've got Ken Shipp, our coordinator, Eddie Hargis, my backup quarterback, a host of other players running, trying to determine what we're going to run. About this time, the official comes over and says, "Let's go." And I go back out on the field, and Daniel Brownwich is waiting for me because he thinks I'm going to throw to him. And he said, "What do they call?" I said, "They never told me." So I called a fake into the line, kind of a bootleg action, which is a run-pass option. I think I had a guy open. You know, I was running the whole way. Barely got in and fumbled. They wrote it a touchdown. Some people on the Rams didn't agree with that.
It might have been the worst thing ever happened, because now, here we go, we're going all the way now. Archie's going to take us. And of course, it was obvious that we didn't have that type of a talent to go all the way, that one guy is going to make the difference.
Archie played as well as he could. He had some great games, but he spent a lot of Sundays looking up at the sky above Tulane Stadium. I mean, they sacked him time after time. He ran for his life a lot. He was blindsided quite a bit. And his protection broke down, and it got to the point where they didn't have to play the Saints for the run. They just sent guys in after him. He took some shots, all right.
Finally, in 1978, Manning was outfitted with enough surrounding talent to make the Saints respectable for the first time in their history.
We got competitive. I mean, no matter who we were going to play, we felt like we not only had a great chance to win, but we're going to be in the game in the fourth quarter. I had good skilled people. Hank Stram had drafted Tony Galbraith and Chuck Muncie in the backfield. Those backs were as good as any in that day, and Wes Chandler was a quality player. We had a good offense.
In that season, finally, he got to display with a cast around him what he could accomplish. But he put the scalps on the wall that year. He really did. And so it created an opportunity for a lot of thank yous and some love, not only from the media people who vote on some of those things, but also from his peers who voted into the Pro Bowl.
The NFC's best player of that season led New Orleans to its first non-losing record a year later. But Manning's status as a Saints icon transcends the numbers.
He's the man. You know, Archie's the man. And he got the tar knocked out of him every week, and he never spoke ill of his team, even when he should have. He stayed in the saddle, and he didn't try to leave. He didn't want to leave. He didn't demand to be traded. And he was a very, very talented quarterback who could have been very, very successful in other programs. There were far less talented quarterbacks who succeeded with other teams, and he just sat there with that sad-ass team and failed. And loved the city, lived in the city, raised his children in the city, and that's why he's Mr. Saint.
Archie Manning represents all of the joy and pain in the history of the New Orleans Saints, all of the greatness and promise fulfilled and not fulfilled. The spark of greatness in our lifetime of despair. So he deserves to be the Saint of Saints. And I think Archie, with his greatness, held out the light of hope for what success for the Saints could be.
Following their crushing 1-15 season of 1980, the Saints hired proven winner O.A. Bum Phillips to be their new head coach.
I've always felt like the New Orleans franchise was one of the better franchises, and if not the best franchise in the whole NFL. They've supported this football team lose or tie. New Orleans don't make any bones about it. They want you to win, and they want their team to win. I expect to win. I've never been in a situation where I felt like we were going to get beat. You know, I'm just like these fans. I think we're going to win them all, too.
Hi, Bum.
Hi.
Welcome to New Orleans.
Well, thank you.
I did this picture for you. I'm an artist here on the square and did it out of the newspaper. We got our record from last year, which says here that you're going to turn around, and we're all looking forward to you doing that.
I appreciate it. I wish you wouldn't have been such a good artist, though. You made it look like me. I wanted a prettier picture.
And all Bum's big personality and the hat and all that stuff, New Orleans really embraced that, which I thought was interesting because there had always been some rivalry between the Houston area and New Orleans. But Bum was truly embraced here.
How are you making?
All right. We'll make them Saints do something this year.
We'll do it. Have a little faith.
Okay.
Phillips began to restore that faith by importing top players, both young and old, including a ready-made star with their top college draft pick.
New Orleans Saints take as the first player the 46th annual draft, running back George Rogers of South Carolina.
Even if I got anything to do with it, I'm going to do well when I go to New Orleans, even though, you know, circumstances is the number one pick. Is he going to live up to the number one pick? I'm looking forward to playing. New Orleans would be better than 1-15, I believe.
In 1981, Rodgers gained more yards on the ground than any rookie in NFL history and became the first Saint ever to lead the league in rushing. Upon this cornerstone, Bum Phillips began building his kind of team.
One thing I want you to remember, football is only a small part of your life. It ain't life or death out there. All we got to do is go out and do the same thing we've asked from the first day we started. Do everything as good as you can, and then a little bit more. That's all the hell you got to do. Come on now!
I think the key to his success is the way that he handles people, handles the players, and the way he motivates. Because he's so genuine and treats you the way that you want to be treated, doesn't put any kind of rules or guidelines on you. He just lets you be your own man. And because of that, the players respect him so much for being that way that they go out and they really bust their tails for him. I think the team is very capable of going a long way, but that's on paper. It's up to us to go out and do it.
And then in '83, every game they played was a 3-point game, 2-point game, 1-point game, because that's the way Bum played. He believed in not getting beat with your offense and going out there and playing with your defense and allowing your kickers to maintain field position and make 3 points for you.
Morton Anderson will have the opportunity to kick one he's always wanted to do. 35-yard field goal attempt. The kick is up. It's high. It's high. It is good. The clock has expired. The Saints have won it. 19-17. The Falcons have been vanquished.
Nearly every game on the '83 Saints schedule was a cliffhanger. But Bum's bunch stayed in contention. And after a Week 15 overtime thriller in Philadelphia, the team needed just one more victory to notch both its first winning season and a berth in the playoffs.
In the season's 16th week, the Saints came home for the most important game in their history. The Los Angeles Rams stood in the way of all they had worked for.
Now this is the most important play in the game. Let's go.
The Saints scored on their opening possession with a Ken Stabler touchdown pass, then put the defensive clamps on the Rams' attack.
They held the Rams to like 130 total yards, dominated the game up and down. Rams did nothing all day offensively, but they allowed an interception return for a touchdown, another turnover for a touchdown, a kick return for a touchdown.
We've got 30 minutes to play and a lifetime to remember it. Do everything that's expected of you, and then what 4 little words? A little bit more. All right, let's go.
Late in the game, the Saints rode the legs of George Rogers to come from behind. But it was the play Rogers didn't make that put New Orleans back on top.
3rd and goal from the 2, inside 4 minutes to go. The ball pops loose at the goal line by George Rogers. Touchdown Saints! And it was recovered by Steve Court on the ball, fumbled by Rogers. Steve Court, the rookie, grabbed it, and the Saints have scored.
Court's name was now less than 2 minutes from being immortalized forever in the Saints' history books.
Look at the clock. Keep your eye on the clock. Go.
In their only successful offensive drive of the afternoon, the Rams steadily inched their way into field goal territory.
6 seconds remain. This is it. The snap is high. The snap, the kick is up. It's long. It is good. They're mobbing Lansford. The Saints are down. So down on the AstroTurf here. The crowd roar has gone away just as this game has.
On this day, the Saints bitterly learned that the best team doesn't always win.
Michael, gotta love you, man. That's a tough one. You deserved it. Well, Ted, you know, that's the way it is. You've done a miracle work here, and I know it's just beginning for you. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Good luck to y'all. Well.
Bum never was able to get the team to the postseason, but he established a foundation for the first golden age of Saints football that was soon to follow.
You know, when the fans come in here, they think about 3 or 4 people. You know, they all think about the same guys.
I love you, man.
Bum was a guy that gave the Saints respectability. And I think most people still look upon Bum fondly.
In their first 20 years of existence, Saints football had never seen a winning season. Only year after year of frustrating futility.
This was very, very bitter to take.
There's no way to describe it.
No, there really isn't. No way you can explain it.
The first 9 head coaches in Saints history tried and failed to explain the drought. Original owner John Meekum was a true believer.
Well, this is exciting.
it's more than exciting. It's a first, believe me. I can't wait to have many more of them.
Yeah. Nothing worked, and the losing resulted in fashion statements, blazing ineptitude, and a possible relocation.
There had been a lot of rumblings that Mecum was going to sell to a Jacksonville group and that the team could possibly leave the city. And Tom Benson, a local guy, stepped up and said that's not going to happen.
I never have coached a team or play, so I don't want to start doing that now. I know a little bit about automobiles and banking, and these fellas know a little bit about lawyering, and here's a developer, a couple of them, and real estate and everything, but, we don't know whether the water boy's good or not right now, and we're not going to try to tell them. The other thing is we got the #1 fans in the country. And I'm not kidding about that, #1 fans, and I'm going to promise you this, that we're going to have the #1 team, too.
It made you kind of exhale a little bit and say, well, because of that, we're quite sure that we're staying in New Orleans now.
And the very first thing he does is hire Jim Finks. Well, Jim Finks was an architect of success with the Minnesota Vikings and with the Chicago Bears, was universally respected around the league.
And Jim Finks gave stability, class, ingenuity to the front office, which has never had.
Finks then turned around and he hired the best coach in the USFL in Jim Mora.
I think it's got a lot of potential down here. I think the organization has a lot of potential. The challenge of the fact that this team has not had a winning season in 19 years excited me.
Let me tell you something about Mora. He was a Marine, and he ran things in that fashion.
Coach Mora was trying to establish some kind of discipline. I can remember us having training camp in Hammond, Louisiana, southeast Louisiana. It was truly survival of the fittest. I don't know how nobody didn't die.
I think it's important that you're respected. I think that's extremely important. I think if players do not respect you, they have a hard time playing for you. I think everybody wants to be liked, and I would like to be liked, but it's not important to me that I'm liked. I'd rather be respected than liked. If they don't like me, that's too bad.
Especially likable were the Saints linebackers, commonly known as the Dome Patrol.
The Dome Patrol was a great group of 4 linebackers. We played a 3-4 defense.
You get Ricky Jackson, who had incredible strength, and you had Pat Swilling, who had incredible speed and quickness coming off the edge. And then you have Vaughn Johnson and Sam Mills that would just literally stack everything in front of them.
That group of guys, more than anything, defined that team and defined that era.
By 1987, Saints fans were still praying for a winner. Jim Mora was preaching patience.
With a little luck, could you be a playoff football team?
I don't think we're at that point yet, Dick. I look at us and compare us to a team like the 49ers, the Redskins, the Giants, people like that. We're not quite in that class yet, but we're making progress.
After a strong start, New Orleans went toe-to-toe with the 49ers.
He missed it wide left.
Jim Mora was suddenly impatient.
And he just went off. Everybody talks about the playoffs. Mora's woulda, shoulda, coulda speech was 10 times more significant.
Could've, would've, should've is the difference of what I'm talking about. The good teams don't come in and say could've. They get it done.
Yeah, we would have won. We could have won. We should have won.
I'm tired of saying could've, should've, would've. That's why we ain't good enough yet.
You used fractured English. The Saints ain't good enough to beat them 49ers.
Coach, is that why you went for the field goal with 1 yard to go?
Sick of could've, would've, should've, coming close, if only. That's baloney.
Triple the Music, Q93, this is Jay Stevens, and just because Jim Mora came down on the Saints like he did, well, they probably deserved it, but I tell you something, there's a lot of season left, and we believe in those Saints.
Well, the players, they grabbed it, they bought it, and they took off.
We won 9 games in a row.
The Heavenly Saints captured the imagination of the entire NFL and redeemed themselves during a rematch with the 49ers.
Well, here we go. Morton Anderson has a chance to be the hero as he had the chance in the first game and became its GOAT. Snap is back. Kick is up. Kick is on its way. It is short, and it is just over the crossbar and good. Woo! Oh, baby! Every everybody off the Saints bench to congratulate Morton Anderson.
There aren't any better fans than there are in New Orleans. They're just looking for a winner, and if you can just win a few games, hey, win 9 games, get to the playoffs, whatever, and the whole city would just go crazy.
Tell me if I'm wrong or right. Tell me if I'm wrong or right. Saints fans are out of sight. Saints fans are out of sight.
Fans who had waited for decades suddenly rejoiced, and the Benson Boogie became the hottest dance craze in the Bayou.
They're the best. They're the best. Absolutely the best. What do you guys think? They're the best of us? Yes. All right. Who dat? Who dat?
From Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it's the New Orleans Saints against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hello again, everybody. Jim Henderson with you to tell you the play-by-play story of today's game. And who would have thought way back in 1966 that it would have taken this long? 21 long years Saints fans have waited for a winner. With a victory today, the Saints will ensure themselves of the first winning record in the franchise's history through 21 years. Could this be the day that the Saints will be winners? Winners at long last.
The Saints had been on the cusp of a winning season before, but this time, defense would be the difference.
Stick it in now! Stick it in now! Move that room!
Give us to Mays, trying the right side. He's still trying to turn the corner. He will do so and get in for the touchdown. Straight drop back by Bobby. Looking, throwing in the end zone. He's got Eric Martin. Touchdown, Saints! And this will be, obviously, the play of the game. And Malone is looking at a 4th and goal from the Saint 1-yard line. The Saints are leading 20-14. 4th and goal from the 1. Pitching it to Pollard, sweeping left. He stopped short of the goal line. The Saints have held him.
Dave Waymer's interception realized the long-held dreams of the entire Gulf Coast.
The Saints are winners for the first time in 21 years.
It's hard to describe unless you've ever been a Saint faithful, because for so long people just, they knew it eventually it was going to happen, but the big joke was, but not in my lifetime.
The games start to dwindle down and your chances of being a winner get shorter, then all those dreams go away, and now our dreams are staying.
I had pretty good coverage on the guy. God, just excuse me, man. It's been a long time.
There were goosebumps. There was a tear in the eye of many people, myself included. It's like, can you believe this? We're talking about a winning season. We're not talking about going to the Super Bowl.
By achieving this, people can no longer say and write and talk about that the Saints are the only NFL team never to have a winning season.
1 week later, in the Dome, the Saints accomplished another first, clinching a playoff berth with a 44-34 win over Tampa Bay.
And being from South Louisiana, raised 50 miles south of New Orleans, it was a great accomplishment, even though you think, like, well, that's not a championship. But it was so gratifying to be a part of that, because I know how the fans were looking just for a winning season. So now we not only have a winning season, we're going to the playoffs.
You can't take away the fact that this team won 12 games this year and had the second best record in the National Football League, and I'm very proud of what this team's accomplished.
In the late 90s, the Saints hired Mike Ditka, hoping to bring New Orleans their first playoff victory.
Richardson to punt it away, standing back at his own 26. Saints got it! They blocked it! It's rolling at the 20. It's still rolling at the 10. It's inside the 10 and down to the 5, where it'll be New Orleans football.
I think you understand right now. I tell you, fellas, I've been around a long time. I think we became a team today. We became a team. That's what I'm about. That's what it's gonna take.
But it was going to take a lot more than that to overcome what many perceived to be a supernatural roadblock to success in the Superdome.
There's been two versions of a long-standing rumor, one that it was on a ancient Indian burial ground, and then one that it was on a less ancient Cajun burial ground. I'm not sure either one of those things is true.
As far as I know, that story is absolutely true. It was the Girard Street Cemetery.
There's a lot of voodoo history in New Orleans, and there's speculation that maybe that's created a curse over the franchise.
The spellbound Saints stumbled under Ditka, falling to a 3-13 record in 1999.
Couch retreats to the 35, rolls, looks, throws as far as he can, deep downfield to the goal line. The ball is up in the air and he caught it. He did! The Browns have done it!
That was the lowest point I have ever seen this franchise.
It's like having open heart surgery week after week after week without any anesthetic.
In 2000, the Saints hired Jim Haslett to succeed where Ditka had failed.
They look like a team. They all got their clothes on, right?
Second-year quarterback Aaron Brooks sparked New Orleans down the stretch.
He stops, he throws, he looks into the end zone. Jackson catches it. Johnson up under center. Now he drops straight back, well protected. Throws over the middle. This is going to be an interception. This is going to be a touchdown. Sammy Knight walks into the end zone. And the Saints have done the unthinkable, the nearly impossible.
Let the good times roll, baby.
The jubilant Superdome belied a troubling predicament. Not only were they fighting for their first playoff win, but they would be up against the greatest show on turf and their own personal demons.
When the first playoff game was approaching and we had to unseat the defending world champions, then the whole question of the curse of the dome, the spirits from Rio Vo all came to light.
Quint Davis, who produces our local Jazz and Heritage Festival here, was also producing the entertainment for the Saints that year. And he gives me a excited midnight call, says, "I've got an idea."
These spirits needed a voodoo ceremony in order to put them to rest and allow the Saints to go forth and be successful in their Superdome.
We had a blessed voodoo doll that was blessed with Reiki healing energy.
Having a ceremony to lift a curse is going to help no matter what's going on, even if there's no curse.
I was right behind Ava K. Jones doing that sucker. I was doing my little thing right behind her.
I think maybe every season we should hold that ceremony and have a voodoo priestess come and cleanse the Superdome, and then we should have a blessing by a Catholic priest. We need to cover all our bases, you know.
Hello again, everybody. Jim Henderson, along with Hokie Gajan from the Louisiana Superdome. Well, today it's the defending Super Bowl champions, the Rams, making their 24th playoff appearance against the Saints, making their 5th. The Saints still looking for their first playoff win.
You know, to be honest with you, we were all very nervous in that game against the Rams.
Don't let this opportunity slip away from you. Let's make it up. Let's go. Kick ass on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
The curse arrived early. Star wideout Joe Horn was lost for the game.
It looked like he had his right leg bent underneath him on the tackle by Dre Bly.
Well, that would not be very good news if, Joe Horn is really the only guy that you can say is a serious weapon for the Saints. The guy with some explosion, the guy that can get deep.
Brooks calls for the football and drops straight back. Looks to his left, going to throw it into the end zone. The catch is made for the touchdown by Robert Wilson. Woo!
While still playing on turf, the Saints defense was turning the greatest show into a primetime flop.
Corner up under center, drops back to his 40, pulls it down, throws it upfield, intercepted by Knight. He's inside the 45, inside the 40. Sammy Knight still running, inside the 20, loses the football from behind, but out of bounds.
The Saints jumped out to a big lead, and the place was just hysteria, the Superdome.
I feel it now. I feel blood now. I smell blood now. Hey, defense, let's do our part, baby. Come on now.
Horn's replacement, Willie Jackson, made the game his own.
Down, comes into the end zone. The catch is made for the touchdown by Jackson.
Well, Willie Jackson is a guy looking like he's trying to take over this football game.
Throws it up in the direction of Jackson. A juggling grab. He's going to walk in from 10 yards out. He does the duck walk in from the 3. Touchdown, New Orleans.
Knockout punch right here. Throw it, Aaron. There you go. There it is.
Step drop. He guns it into the end zone. Touchdown, Jackson. His third of the second half.
We're almost there. We're almost there, baby. We're taking it home. They need 3 touchdowns in 3 minutes. No way.
We were all very nervous. The greatest show on turf, and Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk and all those guys, you know, they start coming back.
Usually the way you approach a Saints season is expect the worst and you won't be disappointed.
Warner straight back, looks right, gonna unload over the middle, caught, Ricky Proehl, touchdown Rams.
I think as the Saints' 21-point lead started to evaporate in the fourth quarter, and it just looked like on defense we were totally dissolving, that everybody thought, oh no, not again.
That's it, baby, that's it. That's it, they're dead, they're dead, they're dead. Come on now.
Our statistician kept passing us notes about the worst collapses in Saints history, talking about that Oilers game and what had happened in that playoff game. And Hokie and I just kept pushing him aside, and we'd say, we're not using these, we're not using it. It's not going to happen this time. We're not going to put this stuff on the air.
The last second, take off the clock. That's when this thing is over. Everybody keep the same momentum. All right, same intensity all day.
You'd feel it coming. The Saints aren't scoring anymore. Here come the Rams. They get to within 1 score. They force a punt.
Angling it for the near sideline. Hakeem drops the ball! Hakeem drops the ball! Brian Mill might have fallen on it at the 10-yard line!
You gotta be kidding me!
It is the New Orleans Saints football! Brian Mill, the most unlikely hero of them all! Falls on the fumble, the muff by Hakeem! There is a God after all!
I can't believe it!
You know, the dome just went, I mean, it's like it exploded when Hakeem dropped the ball.
We're making history! We're making history!
After 34 seasons of making the wrong kind of history, it was party time on Bourbon Street. For the first time in their history, the Saints were victorious in the postseason.
We'd waited for this for years, literally decades. The whole city that had waited for this moment all their lives.
You had people crying at the end of the game, hugging strangers next to them. I mean, it still chokes me up.
It was a moment in time. The whole city had the fever. It was Saints won their first playoff game, and the whole city felt that the curse had been lifted.
In August of 2005, New Orleans fell victim to the worst natural disaster in the history of the United States. In the wake of Hurricane Katrina's wrath, the Crescent City faced an uncertain future.
It's hard to envision the idea that a city's underwater. To see the pictures and the video footage was difficult, and you know, what was harder to wrap your arms around was the idea that, hey, we might decide to go move there.
This is an exciting day for me and my family. I'd like to first thank Mr. Benson, Rita, for giving me this great opportunity, coach a great organization.
That was tough. I mean, in finding, once you made that decision, finding others that were willing to come, really at a time when everyone was leaving.
You know, when you looked at Hurricane Katrina on TV, you just thought, you know, gosh, that's terrible. But then 6 months later when I came down here and I was actually considering this as being the place that I would not only play football but also live and raise a family, you know, you just say, this is going to be a big undertaking.
Katrina had transformed the Superdome into a symbol of despair. Thousands of the city's displaced sought refuge in a structure that sustained such severe damage that the Saints would be forced to play the entire 2005 season on the road. The 2005 Saints won just 3 games, but they found supporters everywhere they played.
How you doing, buddy?
What are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Hey,
We're blessed, man.
Everything all right down there?
Yes, indeed. We're going to be all right. We're going to bounce back, ref.
Yep.
Thank you so a lot for the support.
By 2006, New Orleans was taking the first steps on a long road to recovery. The city was rebuilding, and so were the Saints. Newly hired head coach Sean Payton infused the team with fresh talent, including free agent quarterback Drew Brees and rookie running back Reggie Bush.
The New Orleans Saints select Reggie Bush, running back, USC.
The 2006 Saints played their first 2 games on the road and won them both.
Brees hooks toward Colston, throws, catch is made at the 5. Yes. He's in for the touchdown!
Hey, we need to put a drive together now. We need to put a drive together.
Play action, Brees with a lot of time. Gonna throw it deep downfield. He's got Colston. He's got the ball. It's a touchdown!
For week 3, the Saints were scheduled to play their first home game in 13 months, and a packed house awaited them.
All of a sudden, we go from 30,000 seats to Hurricane Katrina. Everyone's displaced from their homes. They don't have enough money to rebuild those homes, much less just get by, and yet they find a way to purchase season tickets. And that just lets you know how much our fans were investing in us and believing in us. That first game back in the Dome, September 25th, 2006, it was magical. It's a day that everybody who was a member of that team will remember forever. Everybody who was in that stadium, I think everybody around the country, because you could feel the excitement, you could feel the electricity. You could feel what that game meant and what it symbolized. You know, it symbolized that New Orleans was coming back.
Good evening, everybody, from the Louisiana Superdome. Katrina could not blow it out. Katrina could not drown it. It's back, leading the way for a city, a state, and a region that will be back too.
There's no way you can tell me that you don't have a lump in your throat right now.
I've never, to this day, heard the Superdome louder than that moment. And that's when you knew that no matter who we were playing that day, they didn't stand a chance, because that was our day.
The highly vocal hometown crowd was rewarded almost immediately.
Here's Kane in the punt. It's going inside the 5, and it is going to be covered by the Saints for a touchdown. Oh, baby! Covered by Curtis Deloach in the end zone. Blocked by the Saints.
After jumping out to a 7-0 lead, the Saints never looked back.
Oh my gosh, what a moment as the Saints break on top just a minute and 30 seconds into this game. What a moment, just listen to this crowd. Bush is lined up to the right as a wide receiver. They give it to him on an end around. He gives it to Devery Henderson. Reverse, and Henderson's to the goal line, and he is in!
Thanks to special teams, defense, and destiny, Atlanta was unable to score more than 3 points.
Having to settle for a field goal attempt, and blocked!
On a magical night in September 2006, a football game helped a city that had been on its knees rise up as one. The Saints had come marching home at last.
I've never seen, felt, or experienced a more emotional experience than that in my lifetime, from a sporting perspective and really from a human perspective, because you had this absolute coming together of forces that were beyond nature. I mean, people had used this building as a last refuge to save their lives. The building then was thought to be condemned and may never be used again.
After all the tragedy and hardship and everything else that the people down here went through, nothing could top that.
This game ball is going to everybody in this city. This city is getting this game ball from our organization, this team. This game ball is going to the city of New Orleans.
To to watch New Orleans come back stronger than ever has been the greatest part of this whole journey, and the way that the people have, rallied around our team. It's hard to describe other than it's just special, and it's something that will link us together forever.
When Drew Brees joined the Saints in 2006, he brought a record-setting arm and an authoritative voice.
I feel like one of the biggest jobs for a quarterback is leadership, your ability to motivate and inspire your teammates.
Be decisive, okay? Either you're running and you're outrunning them now, or you're putting your foot in the ground and you're coming, okay? You make that determination and make it quick, okay?
Vocally, but leading by example.
Coach, I want a shot to the end zone here. I was thinking that. All right. Packer right to 35. Packer right 35. Ready. You ready? Wait, set.
Looks left and throws. He's got a receiver wide open. Lance Moore, touchdown. Beautifully thrown football right into the hands of Lance Moore in stride.
Baby. Great job. Great job.
During his 7 seasons in New Orleans, Brees has led the NFL in completion percentage 3 times, including a league record 71.2% in 2011.
He's the most accurate that I've ever coached. He can locate the ball right where a receiver wants it. He's got a very consistent stroke, and it doesn't change, it doesn't vary. I think the one area of his game that probably is undervalued is his foot quickness and agility in the pocket, and his ability to stay in throwing position when he has to adjust, and that he's able to deliver a football on time. It's one of his great attributes. He's an amazing foot athlete.
Brees from the shotgun once more, can't find anybody, rolls to his right, throwing downfield, Henderson to the goal line, and he's in!
Drew Brees' name appears so many times in the NFL record books, it almost feels like he's the main character in a classic novel. His numerous passing records include a league season single-high 468 completions in 2011. That same year, he threw for 5,476 yards, to surpass Dan Marino as pro football's most productive single-season passer.
Drew Brees, of course, with 305 yards tonight. That's the magic number to pass Dan Marino. Here's Brees, stepping up in the pocket, throwing on the run, back of the end zone, leaping grab, Graham for the touchdown. Brees rolls to his right, throws deep into the end zone, sliding grab, touchdown. And there it is, a 9-yard strike right over the middle to Darren Sproles. Move over Marino, there's a Brees coming through the door. Drew Brees has just broken Dan Marino's single-season passing yardage record that was set way back in 1984.
I'll try not to get emotional because I have a habit of doing that, especially when I'm around you guys, because I love y'all so much. And I say that with all sincerity and as genuine as I can, because I truly feel that way. That there may be only one name that goes in the record book, but it's all about you guys.
When the 2012 season began, Brees was on track to break a record that was once thought to be unbreakable. Johnny Unitas' mark of 47 consecutive games with at least 1 touchdown pass.
With that touchdown pass, Drew Brees has now thrown a TD pass in 47 consecutive games, tying Johnny Unitas for the all-time record.
Certainly, it's significant to even be in the same realm as a guy like Johnny Unitas, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game. I think the amazing thing about a record like this is it spans over the course of really 4 seasons.
Whenever I was playing, I felt that I was consistent, and he always got 110% out of me.
While pursuing Unitas' 52-year-old record, Brees had a lot of supporters, especially Johnny Unitas' son, Joe Unitas.
Drew, I wanted to take a minute to congratulate you on tying my father's record for most consecutive games with a touchdown pass. My father always said that records were meant to be broken. The things he would appreciate most about you have nothing to do with football. It's about who you are as a person. You're a role model for today's youth, a family man and a humanitarian who cares for his community. My father would tell you these are the important things in life. Not some record in a book. My family and I will be watching Sunday night, cheering for you. Best of luck. Sincerely, Joe Unitas. I wrote the letter because I wanted him to know that we're proud of you. I'm proud of you, that my family is, and good luck with breaking it. Good to meet you.
Yeah. Thanks for that letter again. I really appreciate it.
That was, the least I could do. You busted your butt to get here, and I want to let you know that we were proud of you.
Drew Brees has thrown a TD pass in 47 consecutive games, tying Johnny Unitas for the all-time record.
What's up, man? Hey, Joe, no matter what happens, it's an honor. Hey, all right? Just want to tell you that. Make it special tonight! Make tonight special! Gun empty right Quizno, 52 nudge, double square out, takeoff. On one. Be ready, Devery.
Brees steps up in the pocket, throws, and it's wide open. Henderson, 10, 5, and there it is! He's done it! Yes, sir!
I knew we'd get him on that. Oh, boy! Oh, boy! Baby!
Drew Brees passes Johnny Unitas, throwing a touchdown in his 48th straight game.
On this day, Brees' fan base extended from Bayou Country to Baltimore and beyond.
Brees brings that football to the sideline. It's probably on its way to Canton, Ohio, and number 9 to follow eventually.
It's a team record. It's not an individual record. Certainly the man who held this record, Johnny Unitas, stands for everything that's great about this league, and really one of the pioneers of this game. Had a chance to meet his son this week, Joe Unitas. That was a special treat. Obviously feeling that we had their blessing and support.
Certainly, when I leave this game, I would like for people to look at me and say that, hey, Drew Brees played the game the way it was supposed to be played. He left the game better than when he found it. He did things the right way, and he was a pro.
In 2009, Sean Payton curated a portrait gallery of productive players. The Saints painted a masterpiece of a season that began with 13 straight wins.
Throws downfield, and it's Henderson. He's gone. He's gone. Beautifully thrown ball by Drew Brees. Good for a 58-yard strike. And it's intercepted. This is Sharper. Back to the 15, the 20, the 25, the 30, 35, 40. Look at the veteran go. Midfield. He gone. He gone. He gone. Thomas going airborne into the end zone.
The Saints soared during the regular season, then saw a chance for an unprecedented NFC championship come down to an overtime field goal attempt.
Just hit your kick, though, son. Here's why. You deserve to be here. Let's go.
And so it comes down to this. Garrett Hartley comes in with a chance to be the biggest hero in recent Saints memory. Super Bowl 44. It is New Orleans' favorite son against New Orleans' favorite team. The hopes of a city will finally go marching in.
You gotta love this, buddy. Hey, man, I'm telling you, you gotta love it. Let's go.
We just felt like it was our time. And it means too much to us. It means too much to our fans. It means too much to the city. We represent too much in order just to come here and be happy to be here. That we're not here just to show up, we're here to win.
All season long, we've been special. Right. All season long, we smell great. Yeah, let's go. Tonight, it's time to finish strong and hold up this trophy for our city.
The favorite son struck first. Peyton Manning passed the Colts to a 10-0 lead. Trailing 10-6 at halftime, Sean Payton planned to begin the second half with a bold gamble.
We're going to start this half kicking off. All right, ambush.
Ambush, the onside kick. I knew we were going to run it. Our whole team knew we were going to run it.
You know, it's ambush, right to left. We're going to line up and all of a sudden just kick one. Just down the middle? No, sideways. It's an easy one. You recover it, right? I don't want this thing going out of bounds.
Colts receive to start the second half. Chad Simpson deep.
Thomas Morstead steps into the football, and it's an onside kick. And it's going to be covered up by Chris Reese, I believe.
Had any of us known there was going to be a 5-minute scrum for this onside kick, I never would have called it.
They're still fighting for it, no indication as yet. Still a battle down there, still a scrum.
We got it.
You get out of here! Get out of here! Get out of here!
We hoped it was going to be cleaner than that, but it wasn't.
Hey, this can't happen. We had the ball. Get on out of here. Get on out of here. White ball. White ball.
There's the first indication. It's New Orleans ball.
Hey, take over the game right now. Take over the game. I want the gas pedal down.
The Saints capitalized on ambush with a 59-yard scoring drive.
The screen. Pierre Thomas. Thomas still on his feet. Down to the 5. Makes the move. He's going to score.
Touchdown, Saints.
Pierre Thomas puts the Saints in the end zone for the first time tonight. And puts them in the lead for the first time after they were down 10-0 in the first quarter.
In the fourth quarter, with Indy back in front, the Saints marched 58 yards for a chance to regain the lead.
Big 20, Drew.
Slow it down, Sean.
Big 20.
You get tired? You get tired.
Big 20. Tell Reggie, ball security now.
Super Bowl MVP Drew Brees completed all 7 of his pass attempts during the drive.
And Brees spreading that ball all over the field. 8 different receivers.
He is in a groove right now.
Brees, here's the throw to Shockey, and it's a touchdown.
Touchdown, Saints.
Let's go. It's what we live for. Let's go now. Let's go.
Colts driving with 3:24 to play in regulation.
Tracy, watch the shot.
The defense delivered the final dagger.
It's picked off. It's picked off. It's Tracy Porter. He's running free. He's going to go all the way. Hand down stretch. It is a Saint touchdown. 70 yards on the return. Get ready to party with the Lombardi, New Orleans.
It's already started, I promise you, my friend.
The miracle in Miami has happened. The Saints have won the Super Bowl.
Who could have predicted 15 years ago that the Saints not only would win a Super Bowl, but how would they win it? They would intercept Peyton Manning for the winning score. To me, that'll never be topped. I would have never dreamed.
What an incredible job Sean Payton has done.
The feeling initially is you're just so happy for your players. You're happy for those guys that had worked and done everything you'd asked them to do, you know, and when that happens, it's a pretty amazing feeling, and once you get to that, you can certainly understand that feeling of having to get back each year, of searching for that feeling again.
I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. I love you. I love you too. We won the Super Bowl. We did. You won a Super Bowl. So did you. MVP. It's unbelievable, huh? Take in the moment, right? It's awesome.
This moment had been 43 years in the making. 2 days later, the Crescent City turned out in style to celebrate Mardi Gras and the Super Bowl champion Saints.
We got ready for the parade. Let's call it 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's about 40 degrees outside. So, you know, I'm thinking, well, it won't be too many people out. You know, it's a little cold, and you see thousands upon thousands upon thousands of fans. And that was such a sight to behold, because I could have never in my wildest dreams imagined that. And they were all celebrating. They were all cheering for us. And this lasted for about 4 or 5 hours, where it was just a sea of people. And I think the final number was around 1 million that night.
This was something that a lot of people probably thought they would never see. It gave them hope. You know, if we as an organization can accomplish this, if we as a team and as a city can be world champions when nobody ever thought we could, then, man, we can accomplish anything. We can come back from anything.